Welcome everybody, Red Arrow 23 here. We've got another addition to the playbook. Today we're going to be doing Humblepie rear shield generators version 2.0. Let's boom this beach! So you might be asking yourself why this is version 2.0, and the reason for that is that we already have one of these in the playbook, the Humblepie rear shields, but Moving Day decided to pimp it up a little bit. So we thought we'd add in the hero and definitely check this one out for the playbook. So let's have a look, see how we go. All the mines have been cleared. Usually these are cleared by a boat of heavies or riflemen, depending on the mines that are around. Definitely want to be watching out for these mines on the junction, especially like around behind the HQ. There's usually ones above that boom mine, so make sure you tap around there. And Moving Day is going to have to collect a little bit of GBE for this one. So we're just going to see, you see how he flag landed off to the right side. I kind of like this. This is nice. You obviously don't want to take too many cells, but depending on how many shocks you need up there, you might need to have some GBE on the beach. The reason he flag landed over to the right is so that when he flares over and then starts to flare up, his hero is going to be directly in line. That's pretty nice. I like that. So we're just going to watch it all the way through before we break it down. You can see the timing on everything, so this will be your quick reference whenever you need to come back to this video, have a look, and you should be straight into the actual hit. So it's nice, you'll be able to see how many smokes there are, and then the timing. I'm going to bring it down to 1 speed just for the timing on this. And then you can see the timing of these taps. And the flares coming in. Look at this. Boom! It's a nice work, Moving Day. I love it. Great hit from Moving Day. So let's go ahead and break it down a little bit. So, first things first, like we were saying, the mines have been cleared. If there are regular mines, they'll be at different levels, usually 20, 21 on massive attack I usually find. You might have the occasional level 21, 22, and there's 296 if you don't have any troop health. It's obviously going to wax your Zookas, so be on the lookout for that. He's taken out this boom mine because he doesn't, so the main reason we want to take out the boom mines is for our hero, because Brick likes to get a little bit, she's a bit faster than the Zookas, so if she gets taken out on a boom mine, that's really going to hurt our attack. We really want to have her in there today. The regular mines are just for the Zookas. Brick's not going to be really clearing the wide ones. These ones sort of either side of the walking path. If there were some in the middle, then she might be able to clear like the odd one, and you could experiment with that. So obviously a little bit riskier, but it can work out nice. And because he's had to clear the boom mine, these level 22, 21 mines on the left, not sure if he had to do anything else, but that's probably why he's going to be farming on the right hand side. Alright. So yeah, heavies, you want to flare right up to the top straight away between the rocket launcher and the shield generator, and then you want to drop your heavies in line. And the reason we want to do that is we want the heavies to start walking off the boat immediately. We don't want them to clump up. If they clump up, then the splash damage from the mine is going to damage all of them. But if we have them all staggered, only the first heavy is going to get hit by the first mine, and he'll hit like the first 5 or 6 or however many mines it is, and then he'll die, and then they'll start hitting the second heavy, and then that way you can get all the way up. When you get to around about these mortars is when you're going to need to flare up again, depending unless there's shock mines. Obviously it's going to make you walk a bit slower, and that's going to group up your heavies, which is a bit unfortunate. You might have to think about bringing a scorcher, which will be easier to smoke, still going to have the health to take out all the mines. And if there are a bunch of boom mines, then that's when you want to bring in your rifleman as well. So the mine's already gone, so T2 doesn't have, Moving Day doesn't have to worry about that. He's cleared a couple more. and we're going to be farming a few cells. Like I said before, you don't want to take too many because this core rush, if we're going from 9 o'clock right now, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5, 6, 7, and we'll probably take these out. So as you can see, we've already talked about there's going to be a ton of shocks. So we want to leave them as many cells as we can. Obviously on the lower force point, Humblepie, we're not going to have as many force points on the beach, but that's going to help us out with the amount of health usually on the shield generators. So the health on these shield generators, I actually worked it out after, based on the replay on the damage on the health statue. So it looks like these shields have 302,050 hit points. So it definitely had over 300k. If you have a fully maxed out 6.4, I mean, you can work it out, but I think it's about 250-ish. I can't remember the exact number. It might be 240 or might be 260, 260k. So you're not going to be able to take out 300k in one hit, especially if you lose any Zukas for whatever reason, but you can take it out in 2 hits. So, or you can go around, I guess we'll talk about that once we get up there. So we've flag landed on the right hand side, we've collected a bunch of cells, so now we know that we're going to have enough for the amount of shocks and smokes and everything else that we're going to need. And then we flared down, or you could just flare across anywhere that's going to be in line. You obviously don't want to flare through these 2 mines, and then we can flare up. Once we flared up, that's when we want to release Brick, and she'll be in behind. We could even flare directly up to right up is a lot further, and drop your first 2 smokes and then drop Brick, and she'll catch up. But you just need to be careful with the timing of that, because the boom cannon will pick her off if it sees her. So it's normally safe just to do safer to just do a shorter flare. So there we go. You see Brick's already at the front of the pack just because she was dropped so early, but that's all good because we're going to be using nice short flares for this one. You want to keep your smokes all active, obviously. You don't want anything picking them off. And we're using those short flares just so that Brick can arrive at the flare. And the timing of our next flare is going to be as soon as those Zukas, just before those Zukas get to that flare point. So you just tap the flare and gone. So you don't want them grouping up too much and spreading. You just want them to just get there, but your smokes are going to run out of time. Especially for this one, you don't want to get to the final spot. Goes with a nice 1 smoke at the end. You obviously want to have a little bit of time to think. Once you get to this point here. So then he flares a shield generator. He's gone with the bottom shield generator, or the bottom right, depending on how you're sort of thinking about it. And that's great. We want to have activated Brick's battle orders ability. Obviously you want to have loaded it first, but we want to activate that right now, or even before. You want to make sure that she's not peeking. We usually like to wait until she sort of looks like she's stopped, or she looks like she's not going to go wandering. And she's in that final smoke, but you can activate it as early as you want. As long as she doesn't peek, she won't activate it. And then we flared onto the bottom shield generator, which is all good. I don't think it really matters which shield generator you flare on. Maybe the back right one might cause a little bit more spread, but the other 2 will be fine. And now we're just going to be looking at our shocks. So it'll be different for every map. Just scout out everything. You can use a critter for the doom cannons, or you can just shock, and there's going to be a flamethrower in range. These ones are all in range, and it looks like these mortars are out of range. So let's slow it down and get those shocks out. So he's gone for a shock on the doom cannon. Obviously you can shock the rocket launchers last, and that's going to work out fine because we've got a bit of delay there. This rocket launcher has turned, so it's probably going to take out that 1 Zuka, probably splash a few more. And then what we're doing here, battle orders is obviously increasing our damage as well as our speed. And the speed is going to be the important one. It has increased our damage, so you can choose to just flare super quick, because it's going to be almost down to a bartable range where you can just barrage artillery it if you don't get a chance to get more than one shot off on each. But he's going to go for 8 complete salvos is what we're going for here. The timing of the flares, you might be used to it, what we usually used to do with just Zukas, no brick. We used to be able to flare onto the shield generator, and then as soon as that flare lands, we can flare onto the next one. That's obviously after the first timing of the first one. So as soon as that first, just before that first volley of fire, we can fire the next flare, and before it lands, they'll be able to fire another volley. So you'll see that the flare is going to come in shortly there. So as soon as that flare comes in, we should be flaring the next one. Because we are a little bit faster with Brick, with her ability, we should already be flaring even before it lands. So just before it lands, we want to be throwing that next one. And you can see Moving Day's got the timing down. He's actually thrown it just then. So that was, again, still as soon as it lands. So let's look at the timing, see how that works out. 1 salvo, 2 salvos. So I mean, it depends. If you're going to be doing it, if you want that flare to land before the second salvo and you only want 1 salvo on each shield, then you need to fire your flare just before the previous one lands with the brick ability, otherwise timing kind of thrown off. If you want it to land after the second salvo, so you want to go fire, fire, next shield, fire, fire, next shield, then you need to wait until just after that flare's landed. So that was that 1, 2, 3, third flare has landed, and then the next flare is going to go out. And boom, it lands, and they're there. And the brick ability is going to run out before you have taken them all down. But if we've kept the delay on the rocket launchers, which is going to be critical, because if we lost the delay on the rocket launchers, they would already be firing right now. So if we peeked out of the smoke any point along this, basically anywhere from underneath this boom cannon all the way up to the spot, these rocket launchers will have already turned, and you won't get these final 2 shots off that you, because he's timed all of his flares absolutely flawlessly, and he had battle orders straight away from the get-go. So you can see that he's getting he's got 8 shots in total. The first 6 shocks were 6 salvos were all under shocks, and then the last 2 are just using the delay. The flamethrower is obviously already firing, that's fine. The doom cannon's going to fire before the rocket launchers, and then I believe, so that was the first salvo. And you'll see that we've lost a few Zukas to the flamethrower, so we haven't taken as much health off the shield as the other shots have. And there we go, and then everything else comes in. That final shot got off and we got rid of the shield generator, and then the Zukas are going to perish. And as you can see, he had a little bit of GBE left over from farming those cells, so I think he ended up throwing them on this damaged laser, which is also going to eliminate a shock for the final attack. So let's have one more look at really quickly. We'll speed it up for the walk. So he had to clear some mines. This can be done in previous attacks. Whoever did the right shields can cleared most of those mines. We can collect some GBE if we need to in the form of cells, and then we can flare. So if we didn't need to flare, if we didn't need to gather any cells, what we could do is just do a flag land, gather at this power cell, and then head up, probably via this first gap, up by the 9 o'clock, and then right up. If you really wanted to flare land, then you could. I mean, if there are no power cells on the beach, then you obviously would have to, but that's all good. So we flared across, and then we're flaring up. We're using these shorter pass just so we can get Brick and the Zukas nice and grouped, because we want to have plenty of time to be thinking about our shocks, put ourselves under the least amount of pressure as possible, and Brick's not going to be peeking out the front. We want to make sure that we didn't peek on the walk, and then we're going to slow it down to 1 times, and we're just going to look at the flare timing one more time. Not going to worry too much about the shocks because you've already seen them. So let's have a look. The first flare is out. The smoke's about to expire. Let's go. So it's going to be first salvo, and he's already tapped then. And then the flare lands, and he's tapped the next one. Flares land, and he's tapped the next one. Boom. And then one, and the Hail Mary, boom! And all Zookers die instantaneously. Great hit from Moving Day Today, our fearless leader, leading the charge. Very, very, very tough hit. Good luck to everybody who tries this one. So that's going to do it for this hit. Be sure to comment down below if you take out the rear shields in any different way, whether you have been bringing brick or if you haven't with battle orders. Whether you think there's any alternative plans that might be better or whatever. I'd love to see some like skooker crazy business up there. And be sure to give us a thumbs up, like the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and subscribe for more Boom Beach.